Did you know that a tiny tear in the meniscus can completely change knee biomechanics and eventually lead to osteoarthritis? But before you can diagnose a meniscal tear on MRI, you must first master normal meniscal anatomy. In today's video, we will learn everything you need to know about the meniscus. So hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we will cover meniscal anatomy in systematic way, and by the end of this video, you will understand the gross anatomy of meniscus, its function, blood supply, attachments, MRI appearance, and important anatomical variants of the meniscus. So let's begin. What is the meniscus? It is a fibrocartilaginous structure and its function is the shock absorption, load distribution, joint stabilization, and lubrication of the joint. And menisci are two C-shaped fibrocartilaginous structures. We can see here there are two C-shaped fibrocartilaginous structures located between the femur and tibia. So this is the tibia and this one is the femur. In between them it is a C-shaped structure, and there are two, that is the medial meniscus and lateral meniscus, and they sit between the femoral condyle and tibial plateau. So we can see here this is the femoral condyles, medial and lateral condyles, and this is the tibial plateau. So if meniscus is absent or removed surgically, then the pressure across the knee increases dramatically. So we can see here this is the C-shaped meniscus and it is a fibrocartilaginous structure. These menisci are essential for load transmission, shock absorption, joint stability, lubrication, and protection of articular cartilages. The MRI is the gold standard imaging modality for evaluating meniscal tear because it provides excellent soft tissue contrast and allows the accurate assessment of tear type, location, and associated ligamentous injury. So we can see here this is the MRI image sagittal section showing this is a linear high signal intensity within the posterior horn of medial meniscus. So this is the very sensitive or gold standard imaging modality for the meniscal injury. Now the anatomy of meniscus. So let's talk about the medial meniscus. Medial meniscus is a C-shaped structure and it has larger radius, covers approximately 60% of medial tibial plateau. We can see here, and it is firmly attached with the tibial plateau and surrounding structures, and so it becomes less mobile. Therefore, it is very vulnerable for injury. Posterior horn is the thickest portion of the medial meniscus and it is the most common site for the tear and injury. So we can see here this is the larger C-shaped structure is the medial meniscus. We can see here this is the medial meniscus and it is the vulnerable for the meniscal injury. Now the lateral meniscus. It is nearly circular. We can see here it is nearly circular. So this is the circular or O-shaped, covers almost 80% of lateral tibial plateau. So it covers 80% of the lateral tibial plateau and it has a smaller diameter and it is more mobile than that of the medial meniscus. So it is less frequently undergo tear or injury. So each meniscus has the anterior horn, anterior root, posterior root and body. So these are the parts of the meniscus, and the menisci has the surfaces named according to a simple nomenclature which is particularly helpful in the describing meniscal tear. Like superior surface is also known as the femoral surface. So surface near the femoral condyle is called femoral surface. Inferior surface is called the tibial surface because it is near the tibial plateau. And there is an inner thinner free edge and the peripheral thicker part of the meniscus. So these are the surfaces of the meniscus. The meniscus has three vascular zones: red zone, red-white zone, and white-white zone. So red zone is the outer one third. We can see here outer one third is the red zone or zone 1 and it is well vascularized. So it has the good healing potential. Red-white zone, it has the intermediate vascularity. It has the variable healing potential. Whereas the white-white zone, it is the inner one third. It is a vascular zone and it has the poor healing potential. So often requires partial meniscectomy if symptomatic. This is the MRI sagittal image showing this one is the inner one is the white zone. Then this is the red-white zone and outer one is the red zone. So outer has the good healing potential. On MRI, menisci appears uniformly low signal intensity on all sequences. Their morphology is sharp and triangular. We can see here it has a triangular morphology. In this image also we can see this has the triangular morphology. Smooth articular surfaces, no abnormal signal reaching the articular surface. So remember, an intrameniscal signal that does not reach the articular surface is degeneration, not necessarily a tear. So high signal intensity not reaching the articular surface is not a tear, it is a degeneration. In cross section, the meniscus is triangular wedge-shaped structure. We can see here denoted by this arrow. It is a triangular wedge-shaped structure. Here we can see. And it has peripheral border, that is the periphery, thick, convex, and it is a vascular zone. And inner one is the thin free margin, and it has the sharp outline, and it is a avascular region. So we can see inner one is the thin, sharp, and avascular. Now the meniscal attachments. Each meniscus has anterior and posterior roots. These roots formally anchor the meniscus to the tibia. Loss of root attachment is biomechanically similar to the total meniscectomy. So, loss of these root attachments here and here is biomechanically similar to total meniscectomy. So, let's see the medial meniscus attachments. Medial meniscus attaches to the tibial plateau. So it lies on the tibia and it attaches with the tibial plateau, joint capsule, deep fiber of the MCL. So this is the medial collateral ligament, and it attaches with the tibia via the coronary ligaments. So anterior horn attaches immediately anterior to the tibial attachment of the anterior cruciate ligament. We can see here this is the anterior cruciate ligament, and it attaches anterior to the this attachment of ACL within the intercondylar area. So this is the intercondylar area of tibial plateau and attachment of the anterior root. Now the medial aspect attaches to the deep fiber of the medial collateral ligament. So we can see here this dark structure is the medial collateral ligament, and the posterior horn attaches to the posterior intercondylar area of the tibial plateau. So this is the posterior root attaches in between the insertion of the PCL on tibial plateau. So we can see here this is the posterior cruciate ligament or PCL, and the posterior root attachment of the lateral meniscus. So we can see here this is the posterior root attachment of the lateral meniscus, and in between the posterior root of medial meniscus attaches on the tibial plateau. So this is the site of posterior cruciate ligament, and this is the posterior root attachment of the medial meniscus. Now the lateral meniscus attachments, it attaches to the tibia joint capsule and the popliteus via the popliteomeniscal fascicles. It does not attaches to the lateral collateral ligament, and this explains why it moves more during the knee motion. So anterior horn or root is attaches to the tibial plateau immediately lateral to the tibial attachment of the ACL on intercondylar area. So this is the anterior root attachment just lateral to the ACL attachment on tibial plateau on intercondylar area. Rest of the menisci attaches with the joint capsule except in the region of anterior horn and posteriormost portion of the posterior horn due to the passage of the intra-articular portion of the popliteus tendon, and the posterior root is attached with the tibial plateau in between the tibial attachment of the ACL anteriorly and the posterior root of the medial meniscus. So this is the posterior root attachment of the lateral meniscus. We can see here this is the medial meniscus, this one is the lateral meniscus. Other attachments are the oblique menisco-meniscal ligament, that is the ligament between the two menisci. We can see here this is the coronal image showing oblique menisco-meniscal ligament. Another one is the menisco-femoral ligament, that is the posterior horn of the lateral meniscus to the lateral aspect of the medial femoral condyle. So we can see here these are the two ligaments, that is the posterior meniscofemoral ligament of Reisberg. We can see here this is the posterior to the PCL, and anterior meniscofemoral ligament of Humphrey. It lies anterior to the PCL or in between the ACL and PCL. So these are the two small ligaments. Another one is the transverse meniscal ligament that attaches the anterior horn to each other joint capsule peripherally except the lateral meniscus at the site of popliteus tendon hiatus. We can see here this is the transverse meniscal ligament. This is the ligament that joins the two menisci with each other. Now another one is the popliteo meniscal fascicle or ligament. So this is the superior and inferior meniscopopliteal ligament that attaches the body and posterior horn with the popliteus hiatus. Now another one is the superior meniscopopliteal ligament of posterior horn, and it attaches with the roof of the popliteal hiatus. So these are the ligaments. The importance of MRI is to evaluate the meniscus in different plane, is to visualize the different part from the different aspect of the meniscus. Like sagittal MRI shows the interior horn, posterior horn and body. We can see here this is the interior horn, this one is the posterior horn. Body is not visualized in this image, and this thick interior structure is the coronary ligament that attaches the interior horn of the middle meniscus with the tibia. You must remember that the posterior horn is usually larger than that of the interior horn. In sagittal image we can see this is the posterior horn and it is always larger than that of the interior horn. Now in coronal MRI, so in coronal MRI we can evaluate that the body peripheral margin, and we can also see the extrusion and root attachments. So we can see that the root of the meniscus in coronal image, and in axial we can see for the radial tears, root tears, discoid meniscus and meniscal extrusion. So we can see here this is the meniscal tear. Now the important landmark of the meniscus on MRIs, it is a very important landmark, is that is the bow tie sign. So normally the body should appear on two consecutive slices, only two consecutive slices. And if there is loss of bow tie sign, then suggest for the bucket handle tibia of the meniscus, and another one is the discoid meniscus. So this is the bow tie sign of normal meniscus. Now the anatomical variant of meniscus is the discoid meniscus. It is an anatomical variant, not pathology. So it is usually seen in the lateral meniscus, and its MRI feature is the thickening of the meniscus. So on coronal imaging, a meniscal body width of more than 15 mm is typically considered diagnostic of discoid morphology. So we can see here this is the coronal image showing more than 15 mm of body width of the meniscus, and it is the diagnostic for the discoid morphology of the meniscus. And bow tie sign on 3 or more consecutive sagittal slices suggests the discoid meniscus. We can see here there is a bow tie sign on more than 3 consecutive sagittal slices. So this is the anatomical variant, and these are the diagnostic point for the discoid meniscus. Another meniscal anatomical variant is the meniscal flounce, referred to the ruffled appearance of the inner margin of the meniscus. In sagittal plane, the flounce is seen as a wave or kink in the inner margin of the meniscus. We can see here there is a kink in the inner margin of the meniscus. This is another one is the showing the meniscal flounce. In coronal plane, they may make the inner margin of the meniscus appear truncated or blurred. We can see here there is a blurred meniscal inner margin, and this simulates a small radial tear of menisci. So this is all about the meniscal anatomy and its variants. So if you found this video helpful, please like, share and subscribe for more high yield radiology lessons. Thank you for watching.